Let's talk about one of the most painful and confusing things you can go through in a relationship, the fear of commitment. It can leave you feeling so lost, wondering, did I do something wrong or is any of this even real? So in this explainer, we're going to unpack the psychology behind this fear. And the goal here isn't to make excuses for anyone. It's to find some clarity for you. You know, it really all comes down to this one single heartbreaking question that you've probably asked yourself a million times. It starts with this: how can someone love me? Right? You see all the proof. You feel how much they care. And you know deep down that the connection is real. And then the other shoe drops. But still be afraid to commit? This is the paradox that makes you feel like you're going crazy. But here's the good news. Psychology actually has a really clear answer for this, and just understanding it can be the very first step toward getting your balance back.
So, here's our plan. First, we're going to talk about that dizzying push and pull you know so well. Then, we'll dig into what commitment fear is really about, psychologically. We'll look at where it comes from, the battle that's happening inside them, and of course, the big question, can this ever change? And finally, we'll talk about how you can shift from just waiting to a place of real, powerful self-clarity.
Okay, let's start with just what it feels like, because it is so disorienting. It's this wild cycle, right? One minute, you feel like you are the only person in the world for them. And the next, it feels like the ground has completely vanished beneath your feet and you have no idea where you stand. This really lays out that contradiction perfectly. On one side, you've got all these signs of real love. They call, they care, they're there for you when it counts. But on the other side, as soon as things start to get closer, that fear just floods in. They start to hesitate, they pull back, they dodge any talk about labels or the future. And here's the most confusing part. It's not like one side is fake and the other is true. No, they're both real. And that's what's so tough to wrap your head around. All right, let's get to the absolute heart of the matter. And I need you to really hear this because it's a huge mental shift. The fear of commitment is almost never, ever about you. It is not a judgment on your worth. And honestly, it's usually not even about how great the relationship is. It's about something way, way deeper. So this is the key. You have to separate the act of committing from what that act symbolizes in their mind. For someone who fears it, commitment isn't just a beautiful promise, it's a trigger. It sets off a whole chain reaction of these deep underlying anxieties. And this is what's really going on under the surface. For them, commitment can feel like total emotional vulnerability, basically opening themselves up to getting crushed. It can feel like a loss of control, like their life is no longer their own. It might even feel like this huge, heavy responsibility for your happiness. But the biggest one, it represents the risk of gut-wrenching, long-term pain if it all falls apart. And this is the actual psychological wiring at play here. You see, for most of us, getting closer to someone we love triggers feelings of safety, of comfort. But for someone with commitment fear, the exact opposite happens. As the love gets deeper, their nervous system literally starts screaming, threat. It's a genuine biological alarm bell going off, and their gut instinct is to run, to create distance to feel safe again. So you're probably wondering, how does somebody's wiring get so crossed? Why on earth would love feel like danger? Well, it's not some random personality flaw. It's actually a learned protective strategy. Those walls they have up, they were built brick by brick for a very good reason, usually rooted way in the past. This fear is often built over a whole lifetime. It might have started back in childhood, where maybe having unreliable caregivers taught them that the only person you can truly count on is yourself. Later on, a really bad heartbreak could have hardwired this belief that closeness always ends in pain. Or big life events like a family divorce or a betrayal can create these deep wounds that their subconscious just vows to never, ever let happen again. This is the perfect way to put it. It's like there's this little bodyguard in the back of their mind, constantly saying, hey, remember how bad that felt last time? We are not going through that again. So avoiding commitment becomes their ultimate shield. And this brings us right to the internal tug-of-war that drives all that confusing behavior you see on the outside. That emotional whiplash you feel when they're so warm and loving one day and then just cold and gone the next, that is a direct reflection of a battle that's raging inside of them. This is just perfect. It's like there are two different people living in one body. You have the part of them that genuinely craves connection, that desires intimacy, and shows you all that warmth.
But the second that part gets what it wants, the other, terrified part, hijacks the system. It panics, it shuts down all emotion, and it starts minimizing the relationship just to get back to feeling safe. You are not imagining the switch, you are feeling their internal conflict. Now, we have to talk about your side of this for a second, because this cycle of push and pull, of getting that wonderful affection and then having it yanked away, is incredibly powerful psychologically. It creates something called intermittent reinforcement, and that uncertainty, it keeps you hooked. It creates this potent cocktail of hope and anxiety that feels a lot like addiction. Your attachment can actually grow stronger, not because the love is so solid, but because it's so unstable. So now we get to the million-dollar question, right? The one everyone in this situation is desperate to know. Can they change? And the answer is yes. But, and this is a huge but, it comes with some really important conditions. We have to learn the difference between real healthy hope and the kind of false hope that just keeps you stuck. Here's the bottom line. The work is theirs to do. It's not something a partner's love can fix for them. First, they have to have the self-awareness to even see the pattern. Second, they have to be willing to do the incredibly hard work of healing those old wounds. And finally, they have to make a conscious choice to sit with the discomfort of being close instead of just running away from it. I really want you to take a breath and let this one sink in. You cannot love someone into readiness. No amount of your patience, your kindness, or your perfect love can do this internal work for them. Your love can create a safe place for them if they choose to do the work, but it can't be the tool that fixes the problem. And letting go of that burden is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. And that brings us to the final and honestly the most important part of all of this. Once you have this understanding, the focus has to shift. It has to move away from trying to manage their fear and move back toward protecting your own emotional safety. This right here draws a really important line in the sand. Healthy patience is when you can see actual, tangible growth happening. It's when your needs are still respected and your boundaries are honored. Self-abandonment, well, that's when you're just waiting endlessly for something to change, while your own needs get pushed to the side and your boundaries completely evaporate. You have to ask yourself, with total honesty, which side of this line am I living on? The whole reason to learn about this psychology, the whole point of this, is to give you clarity. It's a lens to help you see the situation for what it actually is, not just what you're hoping it will one day become. But, and this is critical, that clarity can never become a list of excuses for behavior that constantly leaves you feeling anxious and insecure. An explanation is not a permission slip for them to hurt you. Because at the end of the day, clarity gives you your power back. The power to choose. It lets you look at the whole picture and ask the real question, beyond the love, beyond the potential, does this relationship right here and right now meet you with the things that create real safety? Does it meet you with presence, with consistency, and with courage? Your answer to that question, well, that changes everything.